Today, we've got two amazing guests. Both of them have won the Santos Tour Down Under. One of them decided he'd wait until it was his last ever race to win the Santos Tour Down Under, and he's a local. The other one has won more stages than anybody else in this race. He's won it twice overall. He's won 18 stages, and because of how he dominated, they changed the format of the race. First of all, I'm going to introduce you to a guy that I grew up looking up to. He was a rider that made his debut in the Tour de France in 1994, riding with the Histor team. He then joined the Big Once team, and in 1996, he worked for Laurent Jalabert, who ended up finishing in fourth place overall, or it was fourth year before. But this guy finished in 12th position in the general classification. Then his last race was a Santos Tour Down Under, and he won it overall. He's one of South Australia's very own. Please welcome Pat Jonker. So why did you wait until your last ever race to win this one?
I tried, it was my fourth Tour Down Under, and obviously being a local and growing up here and racing with the juveniles, 13, 14-year-olds, dreamed to win it. But like you said before, the race in the beginning and early days was more for sprinters.
Yeah.
So people like André Greipel, who are very quick. And I think everyone knows I'm not the greatest sprinter. I'm more a climber, all-rounder. So it was my last race as a professional. And one day I was training with Stuart O'Grady, doing a bit of a reconnaissance of the course. And it was Stewie who said, the start of the Gorge Road is a really good opportunity to launch a all or nothing attack, and I just did that.
So you followed Stewie's advice and it worked?
Actually, I should have followed Stewie's advice a little bit more through the years, because he's a very aggressive all or nothing type of rider, and possibly I should have done that a little bit more. Sometimes in the sport of cycling, you've got to roll the dice, and in my last Tour Down Under, I had nothing to lose, and it worked out. It wasn't just that one attack, it was several.
So for all the things that you achieved in your career, including finishing 12th in the Tour de France, and it was an amazing performance, where does winning the Santos Tour Down Under sit?
I think it would be, I won a few stage races in Europe. I think it sits a real close second behind the Route du Sud. Yep. So Route du Sud is a stage race in the south of France, one of the last major races to prepare for the Tour de France, and I won that in '98. So, but I think growing up in Adelaide and being from Adelaide, then the Tour Down Under has got that sentimental touch to it. So it's definitely something I'll cherish forever, because not often for a climber to win the Tour Down Under those days, although this Tour Down Under is super tough. It's one of the hardest ever.
And that's Andre's fault. We're going to talk to him later on. In fact, Andre, some of the sprinters have got a bone to pick with you. Where are you? Hiding somewhere. They're not too happy with how the course has changed, Andre, because of you winning so many stages. And now Stuart O'Grady has made for less opportunities for the sprinters. We'll ask him about that later. So going back to your career at the Tour de France, you made your debut in 1994 with the Histor team.
A very long time ago.
Last century.
Yeah.
What was it like, a childhood dream, going to the Tour for the first time?
Yeah, so the Tour de France in my day was a completely different sport than even André Greipel's era. Is a lot of changes. In the 1994 Tour de France, some of our stages were 300 kilometres, so we had consecutive 300-kilometre stages. When we finish a stage, if you've watched the Tour de France on SBS, you'll see they have all those beautiful buses, team buses, and in those team buses they can have shower and a massage and everything. Well, back in my day, the old days of Sean Kelly, some of you might know, or Greg LeMond, we had none of that. We had a station wagon, and you'd be chucked in the back of the station wagon, and then you go off to a really shitty hotel in France with no air conditioning, and it'll be like these temperatures with no aircon, And for the first half an hour, you'll lay in a fetal position thinking, what am I doing here? And then you go and have a shower. And we had to wash our own clothes back then. So
You
in the
washed
shower.
your own clothes in the shower in the Tour de France.
Yeah, that's back in the day. Yeah. So,
That is back in the day. That's when I was a lad. Used to walk to school 10 kilometres uphill both ways.
Yeah, we had to, back in the day, we'll hop in the shower with your clothes on, get the cheap Mercure soap or Ibis soap, and then, or shampoo, and just wash your clothes in the shower, and you fold it up, and then it'll dry by the next day. But if the next day was rainy, you would have all bubbles everywhere on your clothes.
How many pairs of Nixon jerseys did you get? I'm hoping for a really big number here.
Yeah, well, today's riders almost get a new jersey every day, or a new pair of Nicks. For us, back in the day, at the start of the Tour de France, we have 3 pairs of Nicks and 3 jerseys, and also the zip would only go down a little way.
I remember those jerseys. How was the BO in week 3?
The Italians always smelled good. They had very expensive aftershave because they figured if they crash and go to hospital, they got a chance with the nurses, so they'd have good aftershave. They're Italians, of course.
So I've done zero preparation for this chat with Pat Jonker on the questions that we've spoken about so far. I'm caught by surprise and I'm loving it. This is going to be hashtag back in the day, this conversation.
Back in the day, yeah. It was a different, I mean, Sean Kelly was racing with us, and he would have toe clips on, and he was probably one of the old school of the old school. I mean, we're talking a generation that after a Tour de France stage, they would have a cigarette to relax.
Well, there was an Australian rider, John Trevorrow, in the 1980 Giro d'Italia. He was caught by a team mechanic having a cigarette behind the hotel, and then the mechanic went and told the team manager. The team manager then got a sponsorship deal with a cigarette company. He then, 2 days later, started the stage of the Giro d'Italia on the front of the peloton, cigarette, butted it out on the handlebars, and off they went. Back in my day.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm happy the days of people smoking, because we'll have team meetings and the team manager would come in with a cigar and blow cigar smoke in your face and tell you how terrible you're performing and that you're really not going to be a pro next year unless you pick it up. And there was a lot of things that were just wrong, but it did, develop you into a more resilient, durable athlete.
Oh, God. It reminds me, if you remember Magnus Sabansky, one of her characters. I said Kath, I said pet, I said love, I said... It was one of those ones, wasn't it? Okay, so you went then to Once. Did you have a team bus?
Yeah, team bus. It was like, that's the only reason I went to that team. I didn't want to wash my clothes anymore, because they had people wash the riders' clothes, and also they had showers in the team bus. So the sport started to evolve become a little bit more professional. I mean, in the early 90s and late 80s, guys will be having a glass of wine and a cigarette to relax, but then all of a sudden it did get onto the next level. And Once, which was the #1 team in the world, all of a sudden you have a luxury team bus with leather seating, there's a kitchen, there's 4 showers, 2 toilets, and there's a massage area. So that's when the sport really started to professionalize, and we were, looked after a lot better. We had better hotels as well and better food, and that's when it really changed.
Yeah, they were the first one to have the team bus. So I want to go just back to 1994 for a minute. Was there ever a time, and we've all done this at a club race, where you've driven there and you've gotten out of the car and you've put a towel around yourself and you've gotten changed in your Nicks? Have you been at a pro bike race with a towel around yourself outside naked and then getting changed into the Nicks?
Well, in France, that's normal. I mean, you go to the beaches.
The towel.
Yeah, you go to the beaches in France. But, that's right. In the early 90s, that's kind of, how it was before the start of the Tour de France. But the Tour de France back then was very much a European sport. it's now become a global phenomenon, and with
Yeah.
63 different nationalities competing, where back then there would be like 20, 25.
Well, on the topic of nationalities, after your big performances with Once, the Rabobank team wanted you. A big Dutch team, Dutch heritage, and you changed your nationality when you joined that team. How big a decision was that?
Yeah, so it was all to do with the money, really.
First of all, it was the bus, and now it's the money.
Yeah, the bus. Yeah, that's right. At first, it becomes not having to wash your clothes, and then having a team with a bus, and then as you get older, it's about the money, and we're all professional athletes, and no one rides for free. So I had to change my Australian license to a Dutch license, but it was pretty much an economic decision, and other Aussies followed in my footsteps, and the team became a little bit more. It was a time when the Aussies weren't dominant yet in the sport, and it was kind of between the old generation of Phil Anderson, and then there was a bit of a lull, which was me, kind of thing.
You were the lull.
Yeah. So it was Phil Anderson, a bit of a lull. That was me. And then all of a sudden, we became sporting. We dominated. We one of the nations that were dominating the Tour de France.
Yeah. And then Robbie came along and Stewie came along. That next group of riders, Henk Vogels as well. Yeah, it was a big shift. You weren't a lull. You were the bridge.
Yeah, the bridge. I was the bridge, and also I like to think I mentored Robbie a bit. So I roomed with Robbie for a few years at the Tour de France, and I think he learnt a few things from me.
Yeah. How to wash his clothes?
He hasn't learned much about sharing yet, but...
Nor has he learnt how to turn up on time. Was he late when he was a rider? Was Robbie late getting to the team bus?
That's a good question. Actually, we're very strict at the Tour de France, so if you get an itinerary, you get a piece of paper. It says breakfast, massage times, and departure of the bus. And the bus, actually, if it says 7:30 departure, it'll be gone by 7:20. So I think they'll leave. They don't wait. And I have experienced it. My first experience was sitting in a bus. Well, it's taken off, and there was still a rider in his room. Well, they just had to get a taxi, to the start.
I like that. That could be a parenting tip. Does anybody want to ask Pat a question?
Nothing too difficult.
Nothing too difficult. Yeah, we've got one down here.
Pat, I read once that Robbie was riding and had an upset tummy and was able to relieve himself while he was riding. Did you teach him that?
No, that's a typical Robbie. You see, Robbie's a Queenslander. I'm from South Australia. We're a little bit more, upper class. But in the Tour de France, it doesn't stop for nothing. And it's one of those sporting events. It start to finish, it goes. And whatever happens in between the start and finish, it does not stop.
Well, apparently it didn't stop at all for Robbie. Wrapping up your career and finishing it here, what was it like when you hung up the bike and you'd gone out the winner of the Santos Tour Down Under? What was it like that next week when you knew it was all over?
Oh, it was really good. I got free beers everywhere. And for a little while, people knew who I was for a week. So it was really good. It was really good because it's not often for an athlete to have the family there. Yeah. So, because we compete in Europe all the time, you're not going to see your uncles, your aunties, grandma, and etc. So for me, it was really special because my grandparents were here and my parents, my wife and children. So it was very special to finish the last ever pro race and win it, and then have all your family there. Because most of the time when we compete usually in Europe, we don't have hardly any of our family members there. And I think, the Tour Down Under will always be a special race for the Aussies because we've got all our family and friends always just there, which is very unique for us who don't have that at the Tour de France.
Well, Pat, I'm only a handful of years younger than you, and you were one of the riders that when I was a 17, 18-year-old that I looked up to. You were not a lull in an Australian cycling. You were a beacon of hope for the next generation to come through. You completely undersell yourself. thoroughly entertaining, and very few Australian cyclists have finished in the top 20 in the Tour de France, and you're one of them. You were fantastic when you rode, and I'm glad that you won this race, and I'm glad that we had a chat with you. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands
Thanks,
together for
Matt.
Pat Jonker.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay.
Awesome, mate. Thank you. I think you'll agree with me, bridge is a much better description of Pat Jonker's career than lull. And I love the stuff about 1994, and I hadn't planned on going there. That was sensational. Next up, we have a rider who completely changed the structure of the Santos Tour Down Under. When this race was first launched, Mike Turner designed the course to try to attract the Europeans out here by making it not too difficult. And then some big German sprinter came along and kept winning all the stages, and he won the race twice overall. He has won 18 stages in this race. The next best is Robbie McEwen on 12. He's won 11 stages as well at the Tour de France. He's won stages at the Giro d'Italia. He's won stages at the Volta de España. He is loved by the South Australian public. Please make him welcome again, André Greipel. So what has this race meant to you?
It meant for me like a kind of holiday, training camp race. I have to say, in school, back in the days, I had to write an, how you say in English, like a 15-side thing about something. So then I chose Australia. And for me, it was always so wide away, so far. And then 28, I came here with Alan Piper, and he really made us, being a tourist, we went everywhere. We watched the koalas, we watched the kangaroos. And I directly had a good connection to Australia, especially also Adelaide, because it was everything was so close. The village was there, the beach was there. I was born on the beach as well, so in the city, of course, but close to the beach. But yeah, I felt really comfortable always here, and yeah, happy to be back.
We have loved having you here. Interesting that you mentioned Alan Piper, because very early in Pat Jonker's career, Alan Piper took Pat Jonker to the British Milk Race and was a big part of him then becoming a pro. Alan Piper brought you here. Alan Piper also brought Tadej Pogacar here for the first time. He's had a big influence on some careers. What was he like to work with?
Yeah, Alan is I would say he's a really strict sport director. But on the other side, he also knows how to speak with the riders. And 2008 was for me also the first time I got a chance to go for victories. And before that, he prepared us well because we had a really good lead out also here. Yeah, we created a group with this T-Mobile high road change. We were with black jerseys here because 1 month before the race, our sponsor pulled out, and we were with the black jerseys here. But we were well prepared, and yeah, I directly could win the classic down in Glenelg. And yeah, it gave our team a lot of confidence.
I do remember that when the team was on the brink of collapsing. It was a plain black jersey with High Road written on it, but did you have to wash your own jerseys?
I think we had wash service here.
Yeah.
But to come back on the story from Pat, 2010 was it? We were in the Giro. Oh no, it was 2010. We were in the Giro, and we had also a bus. It was an old T-Mobile bus. We also had no shower. And then we did this Strade Bianche stage. Everybody knows Strade Bianche. It's a lot of gravel, but it was raining on this day. And I honestly can say this was the worst experience I had on my bike. We were open everywhere. And the only thing I wanted to do is to have a shower on the bus, but we had no shower. So the soigneurs were waiting there with warm bottles, and we all didn't care. We just put on our clothes and washed ourselves with the warm water bottles. And the answer of our Bob Stapleton, our team director in that time, was, did you ever see a bus winning bike races?
Oh.
And so we won 84 stages or races in that year. And it was a good example that a bus doesn't win races.
Did the bus have a shower the next year?
Yeah, 2011, I had a shower in the bus.
Yeah, good. You're great. That was an amazing stage in 2010. And Cadel Evans won the stage ahead of Alexander Vinokurov. And Cadel had the rainbow jersey on. And it started the day white. And it finished the day sort of a brownish, AG2R kind of look about it.
I think it was brown after 50 meters in the first sector. Yeah.
So when you were at HTC, you also had Mark Cavendish as a teammate. So he was taking those opportunities for the Tour de France, and obviously you always had the desire to go to the Tour de France. How hard was it to be on the team as maybe one of the top 3 sprinters in the world, but you weren't getting your opportunities because you had Mark Cavendish on the team?
I think it was just a special team. We, like the whole structure of T-Mobile in that days was to create a new generation, to just give chances to young riders. And yeah, Mark and me, we were one of these talents, let's say, and we got the chances from time to time. I mean, when I went with T-Mobile, I started to do the lead-outs for guys like Olaf Pollack, which was a good sprinter, Gerard Ciolek. We were always, we're pretty strong in the lead-outs. And then, 28, I got my chance, and I directly could prove that I'm one of the fastest. But to be honest, when I look back, if I would be a sport director, I also wouldn't know how to really take the responsibility of who I'm going to take to the Tour de France, because I'm sure if I would have get the chance earlier, I would have won also more stages. But it was like it was, and it is like it was. And at the end, I'm also happy that I had a lot of experience I could take for myself, and this small guy from the Isle of Man made me thinking a lot when I was training on the bike, and also kept me motivated throughout my career.
That's interesting that you say that, because you see, every great champion talks about the rival that made them better, and you have Roger and Rafa, for example, talk about that. In cycling, Victoria Pendleton and Anna Meares on the track. Did Mark Cavendish make you a better sprinter? Did he make you a better cyclist?
I think we both made ourselves better cyclists, and especially also the team around, because we both knew that we can rely on our teams, and that was the most important thing for both of us, that we wanted to have this team back up behind us, and we were not just teammates, we were all friends. We are still all coming along together quite good. Adam Hansen is here, Bernhard Eisel is here, and cycling or sports is pretty connective. And I mean, when you suffer together, you also get to know each other quite well. And I think we knew each other quite well.
You did know each other quite well. You then made the decision to change teams, and you went to Lotto, and you took some good guys with you. How important was it to build a strong lead-out train around you at Lotto and be the number one man?
Yeah, first of all, I had a childhood dream, and the childhood dream was getting to the Tour de France. And I knew that it's going to be hard with HTC, and I had a really good chance with Lotto in that days. And yeah, I just wanted to prove myself that I can be up there with the best guys in the Tour de France. And to be honest, when I came there to the Tour de France was a really bad experience, because I crashed kilometer -4 on the first day, and I was on kilometer 0, I was on the doctor's car. But on the same time, I get goosebumps now, was also the same thing, like I crashed in the beginning of the stage, but at the end of the day we had the yellow jersey in our hotel, because Philippe Gilbert was my teammate, and we won the yellow jersey and the stage on the first day. So I was the first time having my childhood dream coming true, and the yellow jersey was in the hotel. So it was pretty nice, and everybody played his part on that day, and I just couldn't believe how fast it is. And then the first sprint came up, and after the first sprint, I think I was 8th or something, and I was just shocked, because I couldn't believe how fast they were riding and how hard they fought for their position.
So the Tour de France is different to every other race.
Yeah, it's a fact, because you have so much more media. Yeah, whole of Europe has holidays, so everybody is thinking about, oh, I might win the Tour de France, and you have helicopters around you, you have all the people screaming on the side of the road, and you just have to stay concentrated. And yeah, I just can reflect back on my first Tour de France. Like the first 3-4 days, it was so hard to calm down because you still had all this how you say, the noise in your ears, and you really had to adapt to really write this off and yeah, to calm down earlier, and yeah, it was a pretty tough experience.
So your childhood dream to ride to the Tour de France, obviously to win a stage in the Tour de France as well. Tell us about the first stage that you won and the emotions when you stepped onto the podium.
Yeah, it was stage 10, and on that day the goal was, yeah, Philippe Gilbert had his best year ever. I think he won 23 stages or races on that year. And the goal was that he gonna launch an attack on the last climb, which was like 20 k's to go. And yeah, so he did, and I could hold on, and I got the opportunity because the breakaway was caught like 3-4 kilometers to go, and I was up there, but I just had 2 guys with me or 3 guys with me. And yeah, I got the opportunity and yeah, choose the wheel of Cav, and I could pass him, and yeah, it was just a really proud moment for myself. And I mean, I was in my first Tour de France. I was really close the day before. I was 3rd, so I knew if everything is okay, the stars are correct, I'm gonna have the possibility to win a stage. And on that day, everything came together, and was just a really proud moment. And all the things I have done in my childhood, and everybody who supported me on my way towards the Tour de France was just a pretty relieved moment.
My favourite victory of yours was the one on the Champs-Élysées. And it was the last stage, obviously, of the race, but you hadn't won a stage all year that tour. But the team stayed confident in you, they kept backing you. When you were starting the last stage as the sprinter and you haven't won yet, how much pressure is there on you?
That's a pretty good question. I was really close on every day, on a lot of stages, like 2nd, 3rd, again 2nd. And I knew I have it in my legs. I knew I had to stay in the race until Paris to get this last chance. And on that day, yeah, just everything got together. And normally, you don't win on this position because nowadays the Champs-Élysées, the sprint is like 700, 800 meters from the corner, but in that days it was still like 350. I was on bad position. I was like 8th or 9th on that last corner, and you can't win from this position. But I thought, okay, I'm just gonna go full gas from the corner. And somehow I found some slipstream here and there, and I could come around over everyone. Oh no, I'm wrong. This was the year before. But yeah, 16. Yeah, I just wanted to have this win. And I was on a good wheel of Christoph because I knew he gonna go early, and I believed in it. The team also believed in it, and it was when I remember the pictures, I was just pretty much excited about myself that I really could bring everything together on that last day.
It was my favourite victory, and I love the way the team stayed confident in you and the management kept backing you as well. It was outstanding. I love the way your smile got bigger as you were telling the story also. I'm going to ask him one more question, then I'm keen to get questions from you. Now, I spoke to you about this coming over because in commentary, you sometimes use nicknames and you sometimes don't. And I only use the nickname if I know that the athlete is happy with the nickname. So, the Gorilla. Are we good or not?
For me, it's okay here in Australia, because the story behind it is like 28. I think I'm not sure if it was Stuart or even Nick Gates.
There's a big chance it was Nick Gates.
Yeah, but one of those guys, they made an interview in the newspaper, and they said like, "Ah, look at this German guy, he looks like a gorilla." And from there on, it was the gorilla.
And I can see you obviously have let yourself go. Your legs aren't looking anywhere near as strong as they used to. The veins are only this thick. How much riding are you still doing?
I set myself a goal. I want to do sports 10 hours a week, and I'm pretty much sticking to it. Maybe not here because the weather is good. I just really like to ride my bike. And yeah, I always say it's a lifestyle, and the kilos come by themselves. You just have to go against it.
Fantastic. Would anybody like to ask Andre a question? Yeah, down the front.
I just wanted to ask about the song that you did, Go Gorilla, the German one, and I want to see how the music career is going.
Actually, I've done 3 or 4 of them, so there are more songs out. But yeah, I lost the bet some years ago, and the bet was every year I have to bring out a song before the Tour de France.
The stage is yours.
Everybody, when you have a quiet moment, but really when you have a quiet moment, you can look it up on Spotify, iTunes, wherever. But it's a funny thing because the guy who made that song is a pretty famous singer in Cologne, in the Carnival. And yeah, it was good fun.
Excellent. Anybody else for a question for Andre? Up the back. And we've got 2 up the back. You stay there. I'm going down here.
Back in the day, we were one of the stalkers that accosted you over the road and asked if we could feel your calves, which Matthew and you said yes, and we had a feel of your calves. But do you have any crazy stalker stories for us?
Actually, I can't remember that you touched my calves. But it's all silicone, so it was quite expensive. But on the other side, my mother had the same calves, which is not so good for a woman. But yeah, I mean, it was in my mother milk. I'm sorry.
This whole session between you and Pat Jonker has been a whole lot funnier than I anticipated. This has been brilliant.
Andre, at the beginning of the season, when the squads are selected, how much say do you have in choosing a lead-out man?
It's a good question. You have the guys you trust a lot, and maybe some followers of the Tour Down Under can remember. I think it was 2013. There was a big crash, and Jürgen Roelandts he broke his neck on that day. And he couldn't ride his bike for like 4 months or 4.5 months, and he was unfit. But I knew how strong this guy is, and he was training pretty hard to be in shape for the Tour de France. And I just wanted him to be there because I knew I could rely on him, and he would give everything for me. So that is, I think, a really good answer. I think the whole team behind me, the sport directors, they trusted me because we knew that we could go through a brick wall with our head for the other one. So yeah, it was a giving and taking, and to come back also to something like that. My lead-out guy, Greg Henderson, he was suffering on one day at the Tour de France. Was 2 days to Paris, and he had a heat stroke or something. But yeah, he would have been out of the Tour de France, but I just put him in the middle of the gruppetto, and I put my elbow behind his elbow, and I pushed him up the climbs so that he can make it to the finish on that day. I was totally empty myself as well, but it was a give and take, and yeah, I think it answers the question quite well that we pretty much functioned together pretty good, and also everybody in the team knew it.
You're still friends with Greg Henderson today, right? I noticed that. But my question was, any idea when your autobiography, Aus dem Windschatten, is going to be translated into English and available to us here in Australia? I'm lucky. I've read it. I can speak and understand German, but the others are not so fortunate.
I pretty much tried 2 years to get it into English, but we couldn't find somebody who is printing it in English. So if you know somebody, I'm open.
What's your best 15-second power? What's your average?
15 second. I don't measure 15 second.
What do you measure and what's your best?
My best power output was like 2,100 watts.
No, you, not your car.
I remember 2011 in the World Championships. I CAF won. I was third. This was the best 30-second output ever in my career, and I think it was 1,320 or something.
For how long?
30 seconds.
All right, one last from me before we give away the sunglasses. When you reflect on your career, what puts the biggest smile on your face?
That Stewie invited me here to Adelaide.
That's a good answer, Andre. What a way to finish. Where do the glasses go?
I think the calf question was good, no?
I knew he was going there. Well, André Greipel, you changed the shape of the Tour Down Under. It used to be one for the sprinters, but you were too dominant. 18 stage victories, twice the winner of the general classification here. You are the gorilla that was loved dearly in South Australia. Thanks for coming back. Everybody, André Greipel.